Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Nidhi Darbari, in my Education Treasure. Today, in my present video, I am going to tell you about the outline of a lesson plan. Now, I will explain about the outline of lesson plan. An outline of a lesson plan has been developed on the basis of Herbartian 5 steps in the following ways. First of all, you have to write the serial number. After that, date will be mentioned. After the date, class has to be written. After class, subject has to be mentioned. After subject, period has to be written. Thereafter, name of the school will be written. After that, time will be mentioned. After time, topic will have to be mentioned. Thereafter, average age of children will be written. Then the name of the pupil teacher should be written. After this, general aims will come. After the general aims, specific aim will be mentioned. Then after that, what material aid you will be use will be written. After material aid, previous knowledge will be mentioned. After that, introduction will come. After introduction, statement of aim will be mentioned. Then presentation including developing questions will be written. After that, comprehensive questions will be written. Thereafter, explanation on blackboard summary. After that, review question or recapitulation, and lastly, homework or assignment will be mentioned. Now we will discuss the points in detail. First, the serial number. The pupil teacher first of all should mark the serial number on the lesson plan. This facilitates him and his supervisor to know the number of lesson plans taught and untaught. Secondly, date should be mentioned. After marking the serial number on the lesson plan, the pupil teacher should write the date also. This will keep the record of teaching the lesson on different dates. Class is necessary to be written because the lesson plan must bear the class in for which the pupil teacher has prepared it. It is beneficial in two ways. The pupil teacher can select the teaching method in accordance with the mental level of the pupils, and secondly, the supervisor can also judge whether the content, material aid and teaching method is according to the mental level of the pupils in the class or not. The next subheading is the subject. After mentioning the above points, the pupil teacher should mention the subject on the lesson plan, because sometimes the same lesson can be taught in the subject like languages, history and geography, etc. The writing of subject on the lesson plan is useful in two ways. The lesson plan will match the subject, that is, as the subject, so is the lesson plan. And since the teaching aims of every subject are different, these would be written in the lesson plan concerning the subject which are to be achieved by the teacher. The next is the period. Here the period will be written which is mentioned in the timetable. The next subheading is the name of the school. Sometimes pupil teachers are to go to many schools for teaching. Therefore, they must write the name of the school where they delivered their practice lessons. This will keep their sympathy for that school also. This will keep the supervisor in touch with the practice school of each pupil teacher by knowing which pupil teacher is practicing in which school. The next is the time. The pupil teacher should also be cautious about the time while preparing a lesson plan. It is useful in two ways. The pupil teacher would be aware of the time for which they are to teach the lesson. They can shorten or stretch the length lesson if the time is short or enough. The supervisor would also be able to decide easily whether the lesson is short or lengthy according to the time. The next is the topic. In each textbook, the subject matter is divided into many chapters for convenience. The pupil teacher should determine the topics for each day by dividing each chapter of the textbook into smaller sections considering the mental level of the class and representation of the thought as the basis. For example, for teaching history to ninth class, the chapter on Muhammad Tughlaq can be divided into many topics such as reforms by Muhammad Tughlaq, administration of Muhammad Tughlaq, etc. Remember that in the lesson of languages, the title of the chapter is topic in itself. But it is not true in the case of history, geography, mathematics, and science. It is essential to teach these subjects by dividing the chapter of the subject and by deciding the topic for each day. The pupil teacher often commit mistakes in the selection of the topics. Therefore, they are warned to be alert in selecting the topic by well organizing the content. A teacher selects a topic for the teaching of his own interest. He decides the date, period, and section of his class. These details are written in preparing his lesson plan. This step delimits his lesson plan. The next subheading is the average age of the students. Here, average age of the students of the class will be written. After the average age, the name of the student teacher should be mentioned. The name of the student teacher who will teach the lesson will be written over here. Now we come to the general aims. The teaching of each lesson has two types of objectives: general aims and specific aims. The general aims are concerned with the subject and the specific aims with the immediate lesson. The general aims can be achieved when the teaching of the subject is completed, but the specific aim can be achieved when the lesson is being taught. Another difference between these two types of aims is that the general aims are definite aims, but the specific aims go on changing from lesson to lesson. While determining the aims, the pupil teacher should keep in mind the objectives of education and they must give a thought to the content. Otherwise, without giving proper thought, the determined objectives are vague, purposeless, uncertain, and doubtful. Every subject has different general aims. Hence, before preparing a lesson plan, the pupil teacher should know the general aims of the lesson to be taught. The different school subjects have their own general objectives. The topic is taught at different levels, but these levels have different objectives. The teacher has to write the general objectives. These general objectives cannot be achieved by a lesson plan, but the specific objectives can be achieved by organizing teaching for a period of 40 minutes duration. The next is the specific aim. In the above lines, it has been made clear that if a subject has general aims on one side, it has specific aims too on the other side. A lesson plan is prepared for achieving learning objectives which are concerned with general objectives of teaching. The specific objectives may be knowledge, skill, and appreciation. Hence, the pupil teacher should write the specific aim of the lesson. For example, if in a lesson of history, the knowledge about Akbar's administration is to be given, the pupil teacher should write the specific aim as the administration of Akbar. The social studies lesson is designed for achieving knowledge objectives, poetry lesson for appreciation, and language, craft, and home science for skills. The specific objectives are identified by considering the nature of topic and level of the students. These are written in behavioral terms. After the specific aims will come the material aids. Under this lesson point, the pupil teacher should mention in short that material aid with the help of which the pupils are to learn the lesson. The material aid should be neither too lengthy nor too short. Also, these should be useful from pupils' mental level viewpoint. It is better if a mention is made at the place when the material aid is to be used. This will help the pupil teacher in using the material aid. Now we come to the previous knowledge. Previous knowledge means those past experiences of the pupils on the basis of which the teacher wants to develop the main lesson. Some people derive the meaning of previous knowledge from the studied matter. But in reality, it includes all those information and experiences which the pupils acquire in or outside the class with the help of their parents, neighbors, and friends, directly or indirectly. The pupil teacher should write such previous knowledge after selecting it in this lesson point with which the new knowledge can easily be linked. The next is the introduction. This step mainly concerns with the starting point of the teaching activities. Introduction means preparation. Hence, before starting the main lesson, the pupil teacher should prepare the pupils to acquire new knowledge. It is only possible when the pupil teacher activates the previous knowledge of the pupils, resulting in the arousal of their curiosity and their motivation to acquire new knowledge. For example, by asking some questions on previous knowledge, by storytelling, by interpreting or explaining the subject, by reciting a poem, or by some other method. Remember that the question asked by the teacher from the pupils should be 3 or 4 in number, and these should be in a sequence and very simple. In other words, every question must be related to each other. For example, it should reveal that one question has given rise to the other. This will enable the teacher to relate the previous and new knowledge, and the statement of objective will be easy. The teacher employs his insight and experiences for linking new knowledge with the previous knowledge of the students. The priming and prompting devices may be used in preparing introductory questions. The topic is usually emitted by the students' responses by asking questions or creating the appropriate situations. The next is the statement of aim. As the introduction is over, the teacher should state the objective very clearly. At the introductory stage, the efforts are made for emitting the topic from the students. The teacher gives his statement of teaching topic by incorporating the students' responses. Also, the topic should be written on the blackboard. It has 3 advantages. The pupils will become aware of the objectives of the new lesson, that is, they will come to know what they are going to learn. Secondly, they will start to participate to achieve the goal. And thirdly, the teacher will also succeed in presenting the subject matter in an order. The next step is presentation. In this point, the teacher should decide by accepting the principle of selecting and division the amount of knowledge which he is to provide the pupils and which he is to receive from the pupils. Then he should divide the knowledge into 2 or 3 units after organizing the subject matter in a natural and logical sequence. Some lessons can be taught in a single unit. When the teacher divides the subject matter into 2 or more units, he should observe some important points, like each unit should be complete in itself. Secondly, each unit should have the relationship with the other unit so that there is a coordination between them. Each unit should not look like a lesson in itself. And thirdly, each unit should be developed according to the sequence. The end of each unit should be followed by a test given to the pupils so that it can be ascertained whether the pupils have acquired new knowledge or not. In short, teachers should present the units as a whole. This will make clear the new knowledge to the pupils. The teacher prepares developing questions after introducing the topic to be taught. The presentation is done with the help of developing questions. The questions are arranged in a logical sequence, keeping in view the structure of teaching unit. The next step is comprehensive questions. Comprehensive questions are those questions with the help of which the teacher comes to know whether the pupils gained the understanding of the lesson taught or not. Hence, the teacher should mention some comprehensive questions at the end of each unit. The answers to such questions will indicate the limit of acquisition of new knowledge in the pupils. The next step is explanation and blackboard summary. On the basis of comprehensive questions, the blackboard summary is prepared. Therefore, the pupil teacher should not write blackboard summary at their own, but they should write the short form of the answers to the questions asked at the end of each unit. These should be clear and in meaningful sentences, and the sequence should be such that those sentences present a complete thought. When the students are not able to answer the developing questions of teacher, he is supposed to explain the element of the concept by giving his statements. The teacher has to prepare the blackboard summary of his teaching points and explanation. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to my video to motivate me, share it with others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. The next heading or step is recapitulation. The students should note down the blackboard summary. The blackboard summary must be removed before asking the recapitulation questions. The purpose of these questions is to practice the student learning and evaluate the student's performance to know that they could comprehend the teaching unit. After presenting each unit, the teacher should mention some recapitulation questions. It will benefit in 3 ways. The lesson will be revised, the knowledge acquired by the pupils will be explored, and the teacher would be clear that the limit to which he is successful in acquiring his objectives. Lastly, every lesson plan should have homework. After the recapitulation of the lesson, the homework should be assigned to the students by the teacher on the same topic. This will stabilize the knowledge in the minds of the students as well as establish a contact between the teacher and the guardians or parents of the pupils. The purpose of homework is to practice, to organize and to study the topic. The students get an opportunity of assimilation with the help of homework. These steps are followed in preparing and implementing the lesson plan. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video and don't forget to subscribe.